Hi everybody, US30, we're on the weekly chart, and yeah, let's get into the actual chart. Um, in regards to the weekly chart of US30, we can see that the market had given us a very nice M structure at this point, right? And we can see that the neckline of this M structure is more or less at that point, and also the neckline is yet to be broken to the bottom side, and or rather you guys know by now that we want to see the market pushing further down. I'm closing below that neckline, heading back to that neckline, and at this level is where we would really look for those selling opportunities, and ideally we would love to see the market push further down to close at around this area over here. And why do I say this area? That is because that's exactly where the pattern started, and more or less that's where you want to see it, and ideally, right? So I'm just gonna add a neckline to that neckline, or rather a neckline to that M structure. Excuse me. Just bear with me, guys. Let's have a look. So we could say that this area over here is the neckline of that M structure, more or less, right? So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the weekly chart of US30? I don't see much really at this point. So I'm just gonna head down to the daily chart. So here we are on the daily chart. I'm just gonna fix my neckline somewhat. There we go. So what do we see on the daily chart, guys? In fact, before we continue, I just want to add my daily channel as well. Just bear with me, guys. There we go, more or less, right? There we go, there we go, there we go. Just bear with me. And just remember that we just need to ensure that all of our drawings are as close to perfection as possible, just to ensure that ultimately when we do execute, our execution is also very much accurate, right? So here we are on the daily chart, guys, and just to recap, remember on the weekly chart we spoke about how we have this very nice M structure which has a neckline at that point, right? If we can just zoom in closely, guys, as much as we have this very big M structure that I speak about, can you guys also see that we have a smaller M structure over here which similarly has a neckline more or less at that point, right? That's the first leg, and this is the second leg. And also we can see that we have a very strong level of, we could say, resistance in and around this area. In fact, let me use a thicker line. Just bear with me, guys. Let's have a look. So we could say that we have a very strong level of resistance in and around that area, as we've had multiple rejections, as you guys can see, right? So we might, as I said, guys, see the market push further down. However, ideally I would love to see, actually, in fact, let me just adjust my channel more or less, right? There we go, right? That's exactly what I wanted to see, right? That we want to see the market also closing to the bottom side of this opposing trend line, because this would act as confluence in as far as looking for potential selling opportunities goes. Number one, remember, guys, we have this huge M structure, right? This is the first leg and this is the second leg, right? Number two, we have a smaller M structure, right, with a first leg here and a second leg there. Number three, we have a very strong level of resistance, and we've had multiple rejections at that point, right? So all this is telling us that the market is possibly preparing to move further down, and to at least this level for now. And why do I say this level? That is because it is the neckline of this huge M structure that I spoke about. And once the market reaches this level over here, ideally, as I said, guys, we want to see it close below that neckline, head back to it to just test it, and then at this point again is where we would look for further selling opportunities, right? So what else do we see on the daily chart that we should be paying attention to? Another thing that I see, it is also very much important, is the fact that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bullish candlestick with a small body and a very long upper wick, and it tells us that at the top where that wick ends or starts, we have a lot of liquidity there. And you guys by now know that liquidity is actually money, and that money needs to be triggered by the market at some point. Similarly, we have another candlestick over here. If you look closely, it is similar to this one in that it is also a liquidity candlestick. And as much as, guys, we have this smaller M structure over here, and the anticipation is that the market will push further down, and that is also because we can see that the market closed below the opposing structure. We might potentially see price head back up to grab all of those liquidity points that I speak about at the top, right? And to add to that, guys, because we have this huge M structure as well as this smaller M structure, whenever, guys, it comes to M structures, a lot of traders and investors usually sell on the second leg of that M structure and place their stop losses just above, right? So what this means is that there's a lot of money sitting here in the form of stop losses, and as much as the anticipation at this point in time is for the market to push further down, what may possibly happen is that we might see the market actually push further up to grab all of those stop losses that are sitting at this point, and then only push further down. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we proceed, guys. Let me just zoom in a bit. So I'm just going to add a neckline for that smaller M structure as well, right? And that's the neckline of this smaller M structure, right? I just hope that what I'm saying is not confusing, guys. Anyway, what else do we see? In fact, I just want to mark those two liquidity candlesticks as well, because they're very much important at this level, as well as at this level as well. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the daily chart? I don't see much at this point. What I will do is head down to the H4 chart, and here we are on the H4 chart, more or less. Let's see. I'm just gonna adjust my daily channel, more or less. Just bear with me, guys. There we go, right? There we go, there we go. And here we are on the H4 chart. What else do we see, guys, in regards to the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? Just to recap, guys, remember on the daily chart we spoke about how we have this huge M structure, right? In fact, this is the smaller M structure, right, that we spoke about, and also we have this other bigger structure over here, which is an M structure. I hope you guys can see that. Let's just zoom in a bit and see what's happening on the H4 chart. On the H4 chart, can you guys see that we have another M structure at this point, which also has a neckline at that level, right? Can you guys see that? Let me just add that actual neckline. I just hope that my drawings are just, not confusing, and everything that I'm explaining so far makes sense. But we could say that this is the neckline of this smaller M structure, right? And guys, can you see that price actually broke to the bottom side of this neckline and then came back to test that neckline, which is over here, and which is also a very strong level of resistance, and it also came back to test this opposing structure over here. So there's quite a big chance that at this point we might be looking for potential selling opportunities. At this point we should be looking for potential selling opportunities, actually, right? I'm just gonna add the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if that neckline actually aligns with any key numbers that we have on the tool. Let's see Fibonacci, just bear with me, guys. There we go. So can you guys see that the neckline, which is over here, right, of this M structure aligns with, we could say, both the 50% as well as the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement levels? Can you guys see that? So there is confluence in as far as looking for potential selling opportunities at this level goes, right? Number one, actually we have a couple of reasons for why we should be actually selling at this point. Number one, we have this M structure, which has a neckline at that point, right? Number 2, the neckline has been broken to the bottom side, right? Number 3, price came back to the neckline to test it, and at this point is where we should be looking for potential selling opportunities. To add to that, guys, can you see that this trend line has also been broken to the bottom side? And the final reason is that the neckline over here aligns with both the 50% as well as the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement levels, right? So what this tells me, guys, is that at this point we should be looking for potential selling opportunities. We should be looking for potential selling opportunities, right? However, having said all that, guys, just to recap, remember on the daily chart I spoke about this bigger M structure over here, and I said that whenever it comes to M structures, a lot of traders and investors usually sell on the second leg of that M structure, and they place their stop losses just above that structure. To add to that, we also spoke about this candlestick over here, which is carrying all of that liquidity at the top, right? So as much as I'm saying, guys, that at this level we should be possibly selling or looking for selling opportunities rather, what may possibly happen is that price may push all the way up to grab all of those liquidity points and then only push further down, right? To add to that, guys, remember we also spoke about, let me just zoom in a bit, we also spoke about this level, which is the neckline of this bigger M structure, right? And ideally I would love to see price close below this level, and once it does so, we would wait for it to head back to the level to test it again, and at this level is where again we would look further selling opportunities, right? However, we would need confluence and further reasons for why we should be selling, right? So that is my analysis in as far as US30 goes. I just hope it's not too confusing, especially with all my lines. However, let me just say that myself personally, I would love to see price at this point bounce off to push further down to test this neckline of this M structure, right? And then break it, head back to it again to test it, and at this point again is where I would look for further selling opportunities, and my next take profit should be around this area over here. However, ideally we want to see the market push further down to this level over here. Why do I say this level? This level is actually the neckline of that bigger M structure that we spoke about on the daily chart. Do you guys remember? Right, let me just zoom out. It's the neckline of this bigger M structure that I spoke about in the daily chart. Can you guys see that? Right, I just hope everything I've said makes sense. Just remember to like the videos if you do indeed like it, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you would still like to see me continue to make all of these videos. Thanks and peace out.